Welcome to the document retention. Today we will cover an overview of the Quantum ECS solution for document retention. Quantum Enterprise Content Solutions is a document management system designed to help your organization facilitate your document retention policy. With it, you can better manage the destruction of records that meet your organization's retention policy. It uses DocStore commands to remove eligible documents from Quantum Enterprise Content Solutions. The settings and rules are decided and set up by your team for when and how to electronically delete documents. Includes options to send outbound messages to the source system with notification of deletion. Quantum Enterprise Content Solutions works to complement your organization's electronic health record by integrating seamlessly with your health system's resource platforms, allowing your team to compile, analyze, and delete based off of a criteria. Upon completion of this course, users will have a better understanding on how to support Quantum Enterprise Content Solutions in their healthcare environments. Purpose of the document retention module, required settings, and permissions to access document retention module, components of the document retention module, and the understanding of each policy builder, configuration manager, and deletion queue. Components. Next, we will share information to help give a better understanding of the three main modules that make up document retention. The components of document retention. Configuration is where your organization may assign document retention admins to set configuration. A configuration can be set once per care site. This will include the configuration for when and how many days the document should be destroyed. Your facility can configure the system to do so automatically. For example, a configuration such as this doc type matches the rules for deletion, but there is one state law or regulation that is stopping it from being deleted. There is an escalation option for the user who is reviewing the queue of documents ready for deletion. The user is able to escalate to a supervisor for review prior to final deletion, as well as the ability to notify the sending system of the deletion. Policy Builder is a module that allows the system administrators to define criteria for documents that meet your organization's retention policy. Policies can be set up differently for minor versus adult charts. Policy Builder is not limited to building new policies, but editing existing ones as well. Deletion queue displays records that currently meet the criteria of the defined policies and allows users to approve a record for deletion, defer, or hold the record for a defined number of days, or escalate to a supervisor. The idea of this queue is for the automation of the document retention to have a queue where it will require human interaction to review before the document is deleted and can be set up to have a second reviewer, such as a supervisor, as stated earlier. It can also be set up to track and report activities to audit the law. Configuration Manager, a preview of what a user may see when logging into Configuration Manager. This access would be given to the Document Retention Administrator so they can configure the system as needed. Configuration Manager requires additional Security Manager access in order to be able to manage. It is best practice to provide this access to the system administrator. For example, if the policy is configured for the deferral or legal holds, that threshold can be set for any amount of days based on your facility and government policies, as long as it does not exceed 999 days maximum. Secondary authorization can be set if the customer decides the user who is responsible for confirming the deletion of a document that was in their queue based upon the configuration set. The setting would be yes. And if no, then the record could be deleted by the first authorizing user. Policy Builder, a preview of what a user may see when logging into Policy Builder. This is where administrators would set up the policies for your organization so that Quantum Enterprise Content Solutions may know what and when to queue items for deletion. Authorization certificate is an option that can be configured if set to yes. A document template will be placed in the patient chart validating the document that was destroyed. An audit message can be configured to generate when the act of deletion or destruction of a document occurs and can become a reportable field and appear in the audit log report. An outbound message can be configured, whereas if set to yes, the system will send a message to the sending system that a document was deleted for Quantum Enterprise Content Solutions. A preview of what a user may see when logging into the deletion queue. Typically, this is the icon or module a basic user group would have access to when working with the deletion of documents and patient charts in document retention, and the supervisor for a second set of eyes prior to deletion. Implementation approach. Next, we will share information to help give a better understanding of the Quantum Enterprise Content Solutions server architecture. After the application build is complete, the document retention module is installed by a solution engineer. The solution engineer will work with your team to get a foundational understanding of what your organization may need in the build and configuration. Once your administrators have been trained, your document retention administrator will then have the tools and resources on how to configure the policy builder in accordance to your organization's rules and government laws for document retention. Before the demo, we will review the technical build aspect. Typical prerequisites or technical expectations are as follows: that the BM common components already installed and functional on the LiquidOffice server. There could be multiple components that are referenced for this BPM solution, but these need to be placed before a working version of the document retention can be installed. With this are a mix of written client-side and server-side JavaScript, which is a language built into the Forms Designer tool from LiquidOffice, followed by 4 processes associated in LiquidOffice. Typically, there are 12 database tables and either sequences that are imported or built into the BPM schema and runs next to the main application server database. 2 shell and 1 per script that are running on the application server in order to run the backend, because the BPM is for the GUI and front end. 3 security groups that are used to determine document retention basic users whose work is typically limited to the deletion queue. Then there is document retention supervisor group for those who need to put a second set of eyes on the document in the deletion queue prior to deletion. And then finally, the document retention administrator, who not only has access to view the deletion queue, the supervisor queue, but can also build the rules for the deletion queue. Special attention will need to be made to what care sites the user has access to as well. Demonstration. Next, you will see inside the application and how the queues are created and documents are deleted. Main menu. Upon login to the document retention solution, the user is presented with the 3 main menu functions: Configuration Manager, Policy Builder, and Deletion Queue. These functions are all controlled by the Quantum Enterprise Content Solutions Security module and can be granted or denied to users through the Security Manager module. Configuration Manager and Policy Builder are functions that are reserved for the document retention administrative users, while the deletion queue is designed to be used regularly by the end users of the document retention solution. First, we'll discuss the Configuration Manager function. Configuration Manager. The configuration screen in document retention is designed to be set up once per care site that utilizes the document retention functionality in Quantum Enterprise Content Solutions and only modified as necessary. The setup includes detail on how the document destruction performs for each care site, with option that determines settings such as whether removal message is uploaded to the patient encounter after destruction. The removal action generates a message in the Quantum Enterprise Content Solutions audit log, whether an outbound message or removal or purging is generated to the source system, or a secondary authorization or a supervisor is required for the care site. How about maximum number of days to allow deferral or legal holds? A chart in a queue. Here, I can set up or modify the record for the main care site. Here I've chosen main care site. You can configure how many days you want for deferral holds, how many days you want for legal holds. You could choose a secondary authorization if I want to escalate to a supervisor before these documents are deleted. Is there a need for an authorization certificate? How about a need for an audit message to be placed? And what about outbound message? There you have some configuration options as well. As we close, the table of care sites updates to display the new setting. Keep in mind, access will be based on your facility's business and state regulation and rules. Next, we'll discuss the administration function, Policy Builder. The Policy Builder screen is where document retention administrative users can create and update retention policies. These policies allow for a variety of criteria, including care site to which retention policy applies, policy type, meaning adult or minor. Choosing a minor will give you additional fields to complete, such as years after majority and condition earlier or later, will determine the proper order of your selection. This condition is only selectable when you have multiple criteria for one policy, such as 5 years after the last discharge or 5 years after the patient reaches the age of majority. The condition will tell the system which one wins, whichever happens first or whichever happens later. Number of years to retain documents. Retention basis such as current discharge, death, or last discharge of patient. Visit types to which the retention policy applies. Document types to exclude from the policy. In Policy Builder, you can have as many policies set up as needed within the document retention application. Here I chose an adult inpatient policy. Type the name of the policy. Based on main care site, we have the retention year set to 10, and we'll have this based on discharge date. This can be changed to death date, age, date of admission, etc. Now for pediatric patients, I can choose a pediatric outpatient. There is an option of minor. Next, you will need to go through additional questions to ask years after age of majority, and then condition earlier or later. Once again, you choose a visit type, the document types that you want excluded, and then you can see that the policy definition over here on the right side. Taking a look back at the deletion queue, this queue will be used regularly by your end users and your supervisors. Here you will see a list of charts that the system has flagged as eligible for removal based on meeting the criteria in the retention policy that we just set up. Once you load this queue, you see those eligible charts. Let's go search for Mr. Morris. Here you can see all of the documents that are queued, ready for deletion. You can also see policies they are related to. Here you can see Mr. Morris's name and care site he is assigned to, the visit type is inpatient, and the discharge date. Status is pending. Then this main adult inpatient can now be selected for deletion. I do have the option at this point to add deferral days, legal hold days, or perhaps there is a need to escalate to the supervisor. For this example, I will click Escalate, Save, and Update. Let's check the supervisor's queue. Here is a list of charts that have been escalated to the document retention supervisor. This is similar to the authorization queue. Test patient, Mr. Morris. Here you can see the policy and the documents related to the policy. I have the opportunity as a supervisor to review, and once I have completed my steps, I can approve for deletion. I do have the option to add deferral or legal hold days, manually resolve, or leave as escalated to supervisor, depending on your facility's retention policies. This is a retention policy for the main care site. To apply to minor inpatient charts, you will notice the policy definition field updates to contain the human readable form of the retention policy as the options are configured. As you continue to add and save your policy, you will see it appear in the policy table.
The authorization and supervisor queues is where the end user will be performing their work. The supervisor deletion queue contains a list of charts that have been escalated to the document retention supervisor user from the authorization queue. Here you will see a similar view to the authorization queue, except that the status of the chart is listed as escalated rather than the pending that appeared on the authorization queue. In addition, the selection box to the escalate is disabled. The document retention supervisor can click the details button, and this generates a pop-up window containing additional details about this chart, which is eligible for purge. The patient contacts such as name, account number, and dates of service, the retention policy that applies to this chart in human readable form, the list of documents within the chart which are eligible for removal.
For support, call the support hotline or email for your support needs. In addition, please reach out to your account manager for additional training opportunities. On behalf of the Quantum Enterprise Content Solution Implementation and Training Department, we want to thank you for taking the time to view this entire video.